Hello and welcome back to the Underlap. This is the start of season 2. Obviously, we've been gone for our Christmas break. We're back with Isaac once again.
How you doing?
And so today we're going to be discussing and predicting every Premier League club's season and year for 2023. We're also going to do a short section about a news story from around the 92 from Championship League 1 or League 2. So we're going to get straight into it with Arsenal. So can you predict Arsenal's year in 3 words or less?
I've said will not bottle.
I've gone similar routes. I've gone Premier League champions.
They're not going to bottle the league at this point, are they?
I think it's possible, but with the stuff that's came around about Man City recently, and I think Man United and maybe just be a bit too far behind. Probably the best team form-wise in the league at the moment, but at the same time, like, they're about 8 points short at the minute, and you've got to hope that Arsenal drop like 9 points between now and the end of the season, which is possible, but that means that United can't drop any, which is
and it's more likely
itself.
United are going to drop points than Arsenal, because Arsenal have just been so good this season. Arteta's got them playing excellent football. They're such a good unit, and they're similar to the way like Burnley have been in the Championship this season. Even if they're going a goal down, 2 goals down, they're fighting back for it, whereas Arsenal of the past would just drop their heads and then lose the game 3 or 4-0.
I think they had a strong January window as well. Like, Jorginho doesn't really seem like that type of player that you think Arsenal would sign, but he's underrated in a way that he can, like... So there's an example last season that he came on against Arsenal for Chelsea at half-time, and he just completely turned the game around. Like, Arsenal were 1-0 up and Chelsea brought him on. He ended up scoring the equaliser. But he can control a game even if people don't realise it, because like Chelsea's midfield was so stacked with Kante and Kovacic that Jorginho goes a little bit under the radar. But if Arsenal need a game seeing out, Jorginho can come on and slow the pace of the game down and really control the game.
And for the price they paid, it's incredible business. He was 3rd in the Ballon d'Or voting not so long ago. He's a European Championship winner. He's a Champions League winner, Premier League winner. So it's a no-brainer.
Yeah. So Arsenal winning the Premier League, which
indeed
about 2 months ago I wouldn't have said it was going to be the case, but it just every week Arsenal play a game, and I'm thinking surely this is the week that it starts to come, but they're not falling
apart. And it was
apart.
against Everton, but I don't see them being knocked by it.
Because then City lost to Tottenham as well, so you know they had that chance to come back a bit and they don't take it, and it just doesn't seem like the same Man City side this season, and I don't think that's because of Haaland, which many people are saying he's making them worse, because you can't really score 26 goals and
be bad.
outscore the last Golden Boot winners of the last 5 years by January and say you make your team worse. I think they're just going through a bit of a transitional period where they haven't played with a traditional number 9 since Aguero left a few years ago, so they've got to try and adapt their play a bit, but obviously things aren't correct in the dressing room either, with Cancelo and Bernardo Silva coming out saying he's not happy. And I saw a story this morning, I'm not sure how true it is, but apparently Kevin De Bruyne's now looking to leave because of the financial stuff that's come out over the last 2 days. So
and speaking of City, can you predict their season in 3 words for me?
In big trouble.
I've put won't face repercussions.
So that's 2 different predictions. I think City are in big trouble anyway, even if they don't face... I think they have to face repercussions, even if they're not as bad as people imagine. So whether that's like a transfer ban in like for the next 3 windows, like some teams have faced,
like Chelsea had.
Yeah, because if you let this, which is supposedly like the most unforeseen rule breach of like we've ever seen.
Yeah, because it's over 100 accounts.
You can't not show authority and say, oh, we're not going to punish them, or they've got away with it, because then people just take the mick out of the rules. Then. Like, there's no... we can just break the rules and nothing's going to happen, it's fine. So you need to punish them in a way that makes a statement, but at the same time, like, they're not going to kick Man City out of the league.
No.
You know, the Premier League's a business at the end of the day, and they're not going to kick one of the highest revenue makers out of the league, because it's just not going to make sense. maybe taking titles off them, but I don't think, obviously that would ruin them a little bit, but I don't think they'll be too bothered about it because
No,
they're
'cause they
a
could
good
just
enough
win
team
more.
to get them back.
Yeah,
And if they take a points deduction this season, I think they already know that the league might be lost, so I don't think that would be that bad of a repercussion. So they'll definitely face something,
yeah,
but I just don't think it'll be as bad as, them playing in League Two next year and
Yeah.
the whole club goes under.
Well, switch over to the red side of Manchester. I've said they'll finish above City.
Ooh. I put Carabao Cup winners, because Newcastle are strong, but United are in such good form to a point where, like, when I've been watching United, they don't even look like they will drop a point, which
No.
is completely different to before Christmas. Like, obviously they were still playing well. Ten Hag's done great, but they didn't look like that team that could just go into a game and look like they'd already won it
Yeah,
before the game even started. Like, Rashford's immense. Like,
yeah, he is.
I've put him straight in my FPL just
Yeah,
off the back,
same here.
just off the back of the World Cup, because the Rashford we saw playing for England at the World Cup in December, it just seemed like a different player to what we were seeing
Yeah, he's enjoying
in the
himself
last 2
more.
years. So I put him straight in, thinking, he'll turn it around when he comes back, and then he's done exactly that. He's been phenomenal. Probably
What is it? Is it 11 home games in a row now he's scored?
Yeah, I think he's.
Broke the club record.
He was one shy of beating the record because he failed to score in the last one. I can't remember who that was against.
No, I don't watch much United.
Yeah, I think he was one shy of the record because he failed to score in the last game. Because I think I remember seeing a post. But yeah, probably the most informed player in the league. Not think it's enough to win Player of the Year because it's only half the year.
Yeah.
But yeah, definitely got
Won in
to
Player of the
mention.
Month though.
Oh yeah, he's won it twice now.
Yeah.
You forget sometimes that Rashford won September's Player of the
the
Month.
first
and I'm
one.
like,
yeah.
No, Haaland won the first
Oh
one.
yeah, August. Yeah.
But yeah, so
Because it went on
he
FIFA.
obviously has been playing well all season, but this form is just unprecedented compared to the first half of the season.
And some of the business they've conducted this season has been really good. I mean, Anthony's not hit the heights expected yet, but he's going to take time to adjust. Casemiro has. He's an excellent player. His red card in the last game was... I don't even know if it was a red card. He barely touched Will Hughes, but they acted like he was trying to snap his neck.
He
But-
did have two hands around the neck. To be
Yeah,
fair.
but it was almost like a stay still, like, I'm trying to talk to you. This is not a bigger situation, and Will Hughes was making it out to be the worst thing ever.
I think Casemiro knew what he'd done because
Yeah.
he hugged him afterwards, and I think he was trying to like play it down to the rest.
Yeah.
Like, oh yeah, I didn't really do anything. So I think he knew that he was going to be in trouble in
Yeah.
one way or another. But yeah,
3-game ban though. Do you think that's going to affect United?
definitely, because going from Casemiro to McTominay is definitely a downgrade. But
Yeah.
I think they'll be fine because their next 3 games are like Leeds twice, and then I don't think they've got a tough game after Leeds twice. Like they've got several favourable few games after
Yeah.
this, so I think they'll be fine.
And by the
Um,
time they face somebody like pretty decent, Casemiro will be back. So
Casemiro can miss the cup final if United chose to appeal the ban and they failed the appeal
yeah,
because they had an extra game on. But I don't think they have appealed it just off the risk of it not getting overturned.
yeah,
But yeah, I think United look good at the minute, and I think next season I think they'll push on even further. And it's obviously great to see Rashford playing the way that he showed when he was younger. Obviously, he's still a young player, but the last 2 years he's like taken off as a break. Really, he's not been the same
Yeah.
person to a point that United fans just in this summer were wanting Rashford out the club, and
Yeah,
now he's
to PSG.
completely taken them up to a new height this season. So it's quite crazy to see, but
Yeah.
it's also good to see at the same time.
Newcastle now. I've put they'll get the final Champo spot.
Oh, I put Europa League football.
Oh,
So it's hard with Newcastle because they are great and they have been, but it looks a little bit now like they're starting to slip off a bit because they've picked up a couple of draws that they probably shouldn't have drew. Like West Ham are in awful form and Newcastle drew that
Yeah.
game, and I think they drew 0-0 the week before to Crystal Palace, if I'm not mistaken. So, and obviously Tottenham look like they're picking it up a bit now. Pedro Porro for Tottenham's a great signing.
yeah, it is.
So I think Tottenham won't bottle it too much in terms of their push for Champions League. So and obviously Chelsea should turn it around after
Yeah.
spending 600 mil. So
600 million.
so Newcastle, I think 5th or 6th would be a good place for them.
Yeah.
Because obviously it's still a step up from what they've done before. No one really expected them to get 4th this season and get Champions League football straight away. Obviously, if they do, it's great.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think Europa League is fine for them. I think they'll be playing it in August, September. Yeah, I think that's fine for them.
So I'm assuming Spurs is your 4th Champions League spot. What have you got for them?
Antonio Conte leaves.
Oh, I've
yeah.
put no Champions League.
Well, that makes sense. But yeah, I ever since Conte joined, I didn't think Spurs were the type of team that could play his football. I don't think they've got the back line to play a back five. Like,
Yeah.
Dyer's like been better
Yeah.
under Conte, but like they need 2 world-class centre backs. Like Romero's one of them. They need the
Romero's so good.
and then
But Longley, Joe Rodden's out on loan.
yeah, Davinson Sanchez is not that player anymore.
Davies is a converted fullback.
Which he's been alright, but
Yeah.
he's not the player that's going to take him to the Champions League final or anything.
No, not at all.
Um,
Well, or did he back in... Well, he took him to the... Yeah, they were in the final.
Yes, but with Ben Davies playing.
I don't know.
But yeah, they signed Pedro Porro, which is a great signing, but I don't know if he suits a back 4. So it seems as though Conte's got that signing in and thought, I might stay here. And then obviously on the left side they got Perisic and Sessegnon, who are both quite attacking minded.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't think it's been the right fit. Tottenham have played well, but they've also played really poorly. Like
Yeah.
before the first City game, I think Tottenham had gone like 1-0 down in the first half in like 75% of their games
Yeah.
this season, and it's obviously not good enough if they're going to push for Champions League football. So it's just not been the right fit, and Conte hasn't had the same success at Tottenham that he has over like the last few seasons with Chelsea and Inter
Yeah.
Milan. He hasn't had. Obviously, it's Tottenham. They're not as good as Chelsea or Inter, but they're still a good team. They've still got world-class players. Like, they should be
Yeah.
doing better than they are. Like, they probably should already be in 4th. They shouldn't be pushing for it.
Yeah, like Harry Kane's already hit 260 goals. Son looks to be picking up his form a little bit. He's only on 4 this season. Harry Kane's on nearly 20. I think he's on 18 this season.
See, Harry Kane would be having a great season if Haaland wasn't playing.
Yeah, he would.
Because his numbers are great, but Haaland just makes Harry Kane's numbers look poor,
Yeah,
but they're
well,
really not.
Haaland's now the highest value player in the world, and 26 goals in 6 months is probably going to do that.
Well, yeah, it makes sense.
Another team that might be joining Newcastle in European spots is Brighton, and I think they will get Europe.
That's your 3 words.
Yeah.
I've put reach their peak.
Oh.
So
you think this is where they...
I think this is where they drop. Not so much this season. I think they might stay where they are and not move up or down really. Maybe 1 or 2 positions. But I think next season, because obviously this is for 2023, so I think the start of next season will be the start of their drop off. Not too far down, maybe like
Yeah.
14th, 15th, because
15th
because they've
for
got
De Zerbi's Brighton.
they've got some good players like Mitoma and
Oh, yeah.
Ferguson. They've just been outstanding, but at the
Yeah.
same time, are they players that can keep that level of performance? And they're gonna lose Caicedo in the summer, and
But they've already
haven't-
got replacements lined up. That's what Brighton do.
But they haven't really shown like that they can do that when they've lost their big players. Like they replaced Cucurella with Estupiñán, who
Estupinan's been so
he's
good.
been great, but he's not reached what Cucurella was doing for them.
No.
And Mitoma's great, but he was already at the club. He wasn't exactly Trossard's replacement.
Yeah, but if they get European football, they'll get enough money in to
Yeah, but
then replace Caicedo.
Brighton have established themselves as one of those clubs where they get to a good place in football, and then they'll sell all their best players because they're a good run club. Like, they turn great profits. They're sort of like the Benfica of England, but not on as high of a standard.
I get
like
what you mean, yeah.
They sign these unknown, a bit like Brentford as well. They sign these unknown little gems from other countries, give them a reputation, and then turn a massive profit.
Yeah.
It's a great run club in terms of a business, but as a football club, if you want to push further than just top half in the Premier League, you've got to learn to try and put your foot down a little bit, like they've done with Caicedo. I think they'll let him go in the summer. I just don't think they wanted him to go in January. But a little bit what they've done with him, where they'll just ward off a big club from having him. Like
Yeah.
Trossard, Arsenal came in for Trossard and they didn't really put up much of a fight. They just let
Well,
him go.
Trossard wanted to leave though, and De Zerbi is that type of manager that he's got enough self-confidence to go, I can find a replacement, I can work around it. I don't need somebody who's going to throw a fit because he's not started the next game.
Yeah, that makes
He'll
sense.
happily let them go. You mentioned them before, Brentford. What have you got?
Ivan Toney leaves.
I've put won't get Europe.
Okay, well that's not really a bold prediction.
No, but they look like they're pushing for it. Like
Yeah, but
Tottenham, Chelsea, Brighton, Brentford, Fulham potentially are all up there battling for Conference League and Europa League spots.
while Liverpool and Chelsea are like.
We'll get on to Liverpool, but they are not
if
getting
City
Europe.
took their 15-point deduction, they'd still be above Chelsea and Liverpool.
That's so good.
But yeah,
That is so good.
Ivan Toney's been class for Brentford, and I think if he stays there, he's probably got a good chance of being like a club legend.
Has there been an update on his 230 accounts of betting
I think
scandals or
they'll
whatever?
probably keep it on the low until the summer after
Yeah.
the season finishes, and then they'll bring up. But I think Tony's established himself enough now as a Premier League striker that a high mid-table club or potentially Europe club can take him in.
Yeah.
If Tottenham want a good backup for Harry Kane, if Man United finally want a good number 9,
Yeah.
if Chelsea ever want to replace Kai Havertz as a number 9, or if Liverpool have enough of Darwin Núñez, like Ivan Toney can play for any. Like he's proved it now for 2 years that he can play in this league and score goals if you give him the ball. So I think he's moving a little bit past Brentford now.
Yeah.
Obviously, Brentford are trying to move with his standard of football and climb
Yeah.
higher up the league, but
It'd
I don't
feel-
think they can maintain it.
It'd feel for him a little bit of a step down if he was to go to Chelsea or Liverpool, because obviously right now in the table they're lower, but they're much bigger clubs than
Oh
Brentford.
yeah, it's like you don't sit there in your room as a kid and think, I dream of playing for Brentford.
Hey, you never know. There might be some people out there. I dreamt of playing for Burnley.
Potentially. Oh yeah. Okay. Anyways, so we have Fulham
I put won't get Europe, but the same again.
top half finish.
Yeah, De Silva's so good, which is weird because I didn't Marco Silva. I didn't expect them to be as good as they are. I predicted Fulham and Brentford to finish just above the relegation zone at the start of the season, and I'm kind of eating my words now.
Marco Silva didn't have the greatest time at Everton, and I'm pretty sure he's at Watford as well, where
Yeah.
he wasn't fantastic, but both clubs are like in immense trouble. Well, Watford not as much, but because they're in the Championship, but they haven't had a great Championship season considering they only just came down, and they're so poorly run in terms of they sack a manager on bad form. Like they've had
Yeah.
about 20 different managers in the last 2 years.
And being part of that merry-go-round of managers at like Watford and Everton, you don't get enough time to kind of stamp your authority. The good thing about Fulham being relegated was that they gave Marco Silva a year to implement his ideas and work with the team across a 46-plus game season, and now they've taken it into the Premier League where there's 8 less games, and they're not in European competition. They're not in the cups anymore, so it's good for them now to focus on the league and try and finish as high as they can, but I don't think they'll finish as high as Europe.
I'm glad that Fulham have broke out this curse.
Yeah.
Kind of like with Norwich where they'll go up and then go back down, and
Yeah.
it's like become the yo-yo club, the new West Brom.
Yeah.
But yeah, Fulham have been so good, and I think they need to. For some reason, I didn't think I'd say this at the start of the year, but they need to extend Willian's contract.
Yeah, well, he's been...
Because he's been phenomenal, and
Yeah.
considering this is a player that signed for Arsenal like 2 seasons ago and was absolutely terrible.
Like, people were berating him for looking fat, but he just had like a jacket under his
Yeah,
t-shirt
like-
or something in
and
training.
then he moved
stuff.
away, come back to Fulham, people thought, this is just going to be a move where he sits on the bench.
Yeah.
He's, like
And just collects
way past,
too much
way
money.
past his peak, yeah. But he's just been phenomenal.
Because he went back to Brazil, obviously, where he's from, so he might have rediscovered his love for it a bit. Because playing for Arsenal at that time with
With
how
toxic
horrible
fan
the
base,
fans
yeah.
were, yeah. I can imagine a lot of players that have left probably feel really rejuvenated now that they've been and gone. And Willian's a good player. He was for Chelsea. Not so much for Arsenal, because he got 2 assists in his first game for
I think
Arsenal.
it's a hat-trick of assists.
Was it? Yeah, a hat-trick of assists, and
And
they
then
did
it just
nothing.
never happened again.
Yeah.
But yeah, Fulham are great. They've got some great players. That João Palhinha is incredible, but I don't think he'll be there in the summer because he's too good
No,
to play
that's
for
the
Fulham.
only issue with clubs like Fulham and
Mitrovic,
Brentford.
I don't think Mitrovic will move. He's kind of like Ivan Toney, where he's like starting to prove that he's better than the club he's playing for. But at the same time, I think Mitrovic wouldn't thrive somewhere else.
Yeah.
I think Fulham are built around him
Yeah.
now because he's been there quite a few years now. So they've built this team around him to a point that he's the sole focus. Sort of what City need to do with Haaland a little bit. Just pump the ball into the box and let him deal with it.
Yeah.
Because Mitrovic was 40 odd goals in the Championship last season, like never heard of before. And then he's come into the Premier League where he's had this reputation where he's too good for the Championship but not good enough for the Premier League, and he's been, I think, he's third top goal scorer or fourth behind Tony. I think it's one of them that are third or fourth. But yeah, he's been class, and he's really showed that he can do it in this league. But I don't think he leaves because I think he knows that Fulham is probably the best team for him to play for. If he goes somewhere else, he risks damaging in his career or like taking away the momentum that he's currently on. So I think it makes sense for him to stay there.
With my predictions, I've got one more team to get European football, and that's Chelsea. I've put will get Europe.
I've put Graham Potter sacked, which I think
That
is a
could have been
terrible
more
idea.
opposite.
I think it's a terrible idea.
Yeah.
But,
He's a good manager, is Potter.
He's a great manager, and he needs time, but I don't see the new owner being patient enough with him. I think they can, if Guardiola leaves City and he's going to be available, I think, he's going to flash his checkbook again and think, we can get the best manager in the world to manage what could be the best team in the world with the amount of money they've spent already.
Yeah.
Graham
do you
Potter,
think they might do a swap? Graham Potter to City,
I
Guardiola
don't
to
think
Chelsea?
Graham Potter should go to Man City because if it goes as bad as how it's gone so far for him, I think he needs to go back down a little bit. Not as far as Brighton maybe, but more so to a team that are aspiring, like Villa, that type of reputation. Obviously not Villa because I got Emery, but like
that team that's trying to break into
West
Europe.
Ham, they've not been good this season, and a lot of the fans are trying to get rid of David Moyes.
A Graham Potter West Ham could be really interesting.
It just seems like it works. Graham Potter can get the best out of players that shouldn't be playing well.
Kufal are
Soufal, Souček, Antonio, I think they'd all be great under Potter. Antonio just be the next Danny Welbeck and score 15 goals in the Prem. Obviously, Danny Welbeck didn't do that for Brighton, but he was playing well. But yeah, I just don't see them having the patience to keep Graham Potter and letting him build it. I think he's just there at the minute as he was really good for Brighton, so he can steer the ship for now.
Yeah.
Until we get Zidane or Guardiola. I don't think the owner wants a low class, not a low class. Potter's not a low class manager,
like
but they want
worthy.
they want a top level. We've got the best manager in the world. They want that news headline.
Yeah, another huge team which is struggling is Liverpool. I've put Klopp, won't sack Klopp.
I've put only gets worse.
Yeah, I think those two things come hand in hand. I think not sacking Klopp and Klopp's too prideful to walk away from the situation, and I don't think Liverpool fans or the club want to sack him, but I feel like it's going to get to a point where that's probably the only decision that they can make to change the situation because they are bad.
The problem I think Liverpool have at the moment is that their squad's really thin and really old.
Yeah, their midfield's got a combined age of 105 or something.
Yeah, so Thiago isn't getting any younger. Henderson isn't getting any younger. Fabinho's not getting any younger. Van Dijk, Salah, Alisson, they're not getting any younger. They need to bring players in, younger players, to rebuild their squad. Liverpool, in the next 2-3 years, are going to go through a massive transitional period. So my idea of only gets worse in terms of their way to get out of that is to sign young players and start the transitional period as soon as they can.
Yeah.
Because if they wait until Salah's 34 and Van Dijk's 35 and Henderson's 40, then it's not going to work, and they're just going to keep dropping, and they're going to keep. They might not get European football this season.
I don't think they will.
It doesn't look like they're going to turn it around. They're playing as bad as at least United have taken it up to a next level. Liverpool just got knocked out the cup to Brighton,
Yeah,
and they just lost at the weekend again. Was it 3-0?
yeah,
They got battered.
by Wolves.
Yeah,
Who
and
were,
Wolves are like 16th.
Yeah, then they were like 19th or 20th.
Yeah, they were in the
so-
bottom three at the beginning of the week. So it just doesn't seem like it's getting any better for Liverpool.
No.
And with the players they have, they're world-class players, but some of them are now reaching a point where
Yeah.
they're past their peak and they're getting on. And if
And they're down in 10th.
Liverpool, like, they need to act now and sign players now, especially in the summer. They need to start sacrificing some
Yeah.
players. They need to potentially cash in on some of the players before it's too late. I don't think Salah should have got a new contract. Well, he should have got a new contract, but not as long and not as big wages. Because
but
I
he
think
weren't going to accept anything less, and if
he's
you want
not
his
the
impact,
same player this
no,
season.
he's not.
At all. I think I said this at the start of the season. I said signing Darwin Núñez would take Salah completely out of the game because having a main striker doesn't suit what Liverpool have been doing
No,
for the last
because
5
you've
years.
had Firmino basically getting out of Salah and Mane's
You've
way
had
to let them score.
Mane and Salah as basically the two forwards,
Yeah.
and you've had Jota or Firmino come back a bit and play the balls through.
Yeah,
Darwin Núñez isn't going to do that. He's going to be in behind, trying to score and failing.
right. So we're into the bottom half of the table now. We're going to have to speed things up a little bit. Aston Villa, I've got will disappoint again.
More of same.
They're not going to improve, are they?
I don't think they'll improve, but I don't think they'll get worse. I
No.
think they could go 2 places above. They could finish 10th or 9th. But in terms of their aspirations of pushing for Europe, I don't think that's possible.
No, they've got good players, but like I think Diego Carlos might change their fortunes with him coming back from injury. But
True.
I don't think there's much in the terms of wiggle room for Aston Villa. I think it's going to take a pre-season with Emery to finally see what his ideas are for the club come through probably next season.
And they needed to sign a striker. John Duran, obviously, they bought in, but he's a bit young and not proven.
Yeah.
They let go of Danny Ings. Ollie Watkins has been good, but he's probably underperforming his expected goals by loads because every time I watch Villa, they just create so many chances
Yeah.
and they don't score.
They
So
need
it made
like Ivan
sense for them.
Toney.
It made sense for them to go and sign a proper conventional 9 that can just put their chances away, which they didn't do in January. Which I think if they were going to push on this season and like get out of like the little mid-table
Yeah.
spot that they're in and like try and push the teams at the top a little bit, they needed to sign a striker.
Exactly.
But they didn't. They just let one of them go, which I think
Makes no sense.
it was. I think Aston Villa had a terrible January window.
Yeah.
They bought Alex Moreno, who's a good left back.
Yeah, it's all right.
But I don't think that was the position that was their weakest. Like
No.
they had Luka Dean, who was fine. He was not the player he was at Everton, but he's still a good player. But
There's a few teams in this area of the table that don't look like they're going to go up or down really. And for me, not sure about you, but I've got Crystal Palace. They're next. I've put stay very still. I don't think they'll move position either. A bit similar to Aston Villa, decent levels of investment, but they're just not gonna. They're not good enough to break into the top 10.
I thought Wilfred Zaha leaves. Because I'm pretty sure he's out of contract in the summer and he hasn't signed yet, if I'm not wrong.
No, he hasn't.
And I think it's finally time for Zaha to leave because
Yeah.
my idea of Crystal Palace now is that they need to build a team around Eze and Elise because they are ridiculous for how young they are, especially Elise. Eze had his injury, but they need to build around those two and make those two the next Zaha instead of just having one Zaha. They have two new ones. But I think Elise has the quality to be better than Zaha was.
Yeah,
And I think Eze also has that quality as well.
Elise is like a magician when he's like dribbling around the field. It's scary to see
He's such
how
a dead ball specialist
Yeah,
as well. Like his
that free kick
corners,
against United too.
he won goal of the month.
Yeah,
And his corner taking is great as well. So he'd be great for any team to pick up really because
yeah.
even if he doesn't
Maybe
get
United. He could
well, even
do
if he doesn't
quite well
start
there.
all the time, like he's good enough to like come off the bench, make an impact, and once he's matured a bit in goal, there he could probably really control a game.
Yeah. Nottingham Forest next. I've put will surprise people.
I've put stays in league because I don't think they're going to get relegated, but I think they need to establish some sort of a plan.
Yeah.
Because at the moment it's sort of been very rational decisions, very let's get 30 players through the door and hope they're going to play well together.
Yeah.
They need to sit down sometime towards the end of the season and think, we're gonna do this in the summer.
What's our plan of action?
Plan 18 months ahead.
Yeah.
Because they can't just keep signing loads of players and just hoping that they're all gonna work, because they've signed loads of players that I don't know if they've even played yet. Like Niakate, I think was injured, but he's probably one of their best signings.
Yeah,
he's a great player.
He's a good
And
defender.
they've done well in getting performances out of players that you didn't expect. Like Serge Aurier's been good.
He's been really good, and he scored that volley the other week too.
Yeah, but for Tottenham, he was like
bad,
bang average.
So bad.
And obviously Jesse Lingard hasn't became West Ham Jesse Lingard.
No.
But they've got Morgan Gibbs-White. Brennan Johnson is great. They need to keep hold of Brennan Johnson.
Yeah, and they've got Renan Lodi in on loan. They've got Romain Freuler. They've got some really good players.
Taiwo Awoniyi as well. He looks good. So Forest have an opportunity to take it forward, but they just need to establish a plan.
I think they might pick up some surprise victories over some of the bigger clubs this season. I can see them potentially beating a Chelsea or Tottenham. They'll probably beat Liverpool in this second half of the season. I think they've got a good chance of moving into the top 10 potentially.
I think it's
but
a bit
I feel like probably 11th or 12th is probably where they'll be.
I think they'll have a better season next season than this season, but I think they need to plan out first. Plan 18 months ahead instead of just planning 6 months ahead.
A team that looks like they've got absolutely zero plan is Leicester. I've got stuck in rut.
I've put Brendan Rodgers leaves.
You want everyone to go.
I just think a lot of clubs are entering a different phase. Like Liverpool are entering a different phase, and
the football's
Chelsea
changing.
As well.
So
Leicester as well. Leicester are losing a lot of players because Tielemans is out of contract. Maddison's out of contract next summer. Vardy's old.
Yeah, and the Daka's not gotten much of a chance. Samare's not gotten much of a chance.
They've left it too late on Daka to a point where they should have gave him minutes when he first joined, because now it's got to a point
like what Brighton do. They bring in players that, and if they don't play, they'll loan them out to Belgium or whatever. Like Mitoma was on loan in Belgium last year, and look how much he's developed.
Iheanacho needs to get more minutes as well.
Iheanacho was so good,
but they just let his momentum drop off.
Yeah, completely. Because like me and my stepdad, we put him in our fantasy team for the start of. It was either the start of this season or start of last season, and we thought he's going to do absolutely massive things. They moved him into a number 10 role, playing behind Vardy. I thought, him playing with Daka is going to be excellent with Maddison on the left. Maddison got injured. Iheanacho didn't play, and neither did Daka. So
for Wolves, I've got turns it around.
Will definitely improve.
Because I think Wolves have a good enough squad that they shouldn't be in the position they are. They shouldn't have been in the bottom 3. They shouldn't be 16th. Their manager's a good manager, Lopetegui. Pedro Neto should come back from injury soon.
I'm excited for him to come back because he was a bright spark.
Mateus Nunes is a great player.
Cunha is a good player.
Yes, if they want to step up, I think they've finally got to get rid of that hero and replace Raul Jimenez, because he's not the same player since his injury.
No, which is unfortunate, but if you want to survive in the Premier League and they need to score goals,
if they want to be back to where they were, like they were in the Europa League a few years ago. If they want to be back there, they need to sign a striker, because Raul Jimenez, as much as they want him to perform because he's like one of their best players of the last generation, he's not that player anymore, because it seems as though that injury's like took a turn for the worse, and he's not the same player anymore.
And Daniel Podence is their top goal scorer. I thought he was still injured. I didn't even know he was still playing.
But yeah, if they keep hold of players like Ruben Neves, Mateus Nunes, Nathan Collins has been alright as well, they'll be fine. But they'll turn it around. They won't drop into the Championship, which a couple of months ago looked like it could be the case, because they were terrible. But it looks like the performances are stepping up now. A 3-0 win over Liverpool's massive.
Exactly.
And I feel like they might take that momentum forward now.
And a team that didn't expect themselves to find them as low as they are is West Ham. I've put will definitely improve, same as Wolves.
David Moyes sacked. Because
half the league's managers are going in your eyes.
Well, yeah, because it's like I said, a lot of teams are running through transitional periods now, and West Ham, they need to realise that, they are a team that should be where they were 2 seasons ago, or even last season. They shouldn't be. Obviously, they were fighting relegation when Moyes joined, but they shouldn't be down there because their team's too good. Declan Rice, Scamacca.
Scamacca's awesome, but he's just not shown it yet.
Yeah, they need Moyes has been great, but I think his time is up a little bit now.
Yeah.
And I don't think West Ham fans... Some of them want him to... They're very mixed.
Yeah.
Because I follow a lot of West Ham fans on Twitter, because I have, like, West Ham family. They're very mixed. Some of them want him to go, some of them want him to stay. But I think the ones that want him to stay are realising, like, he's took us to Europe, he's been fantastic for us, but at the same time...
It's a little bit rose-tinted. They're like, look at the heights he's hit, but look at you now, you're in 16.
Yeah, they need to... I think he's reached his point now where he needs to hand it over to someone else. Like Graham Potter. I think Graham Potter for West Ham is just a great match.
You're fantasising about
it. It is. It's a great match. I don't think Potter was ready for a big
jump. Yeah.
Well, especially Chelsea. Chelsea was probably the worst team in the top 6 he could have
gone
to.
They're so volatile at Chelsea.
Especially when they've just bought in 16 or 18 new players and they just say, oh yeah, Potter, just go and sort them out and make sure they play together. So I think he's a great manager to go to West Ham.
Yeah, relegation candidates. We're going to have to really speed through these. I've put Leeds could get relegated.
Playing Championship football.
Yeah, Jesse March has been sacked. They've brought in a lot of players that fit his system, but I feel like those players are young enough to adapt to a new system for whatever manager comes in.
Yeah, I just feel like their team's good enough that if they go down, they can come back up because they've got some really young talents that if they keep hold of in the Championship, will absolutely tear it up.
You need energy for the Championship.
They've got
and young
Gnonto,
players of energy.
Brendan Aronson, players like that, Somerville, who have they've shown that their quality in the Premier League. So you just imagine that if they drop down a league, they'll just absolutely tear the league up, finish on over 100 points, and come straight back. But at the same time, competition's so high down the bottom of the table at the moment that, you look at it and think you can't really pinpoint 3 teams that are definitely going to go down.
Yeah, some people have to get relegated, and I think Everton will. I've put 19th looks right.
Turns around eventually.
Oh, I despise Everton. They should have been relegated last year instead of us. I mean, I'm kind of glad we've been relegated now as Burnley, but they broke financial fair play pretty much, and then the Premier League went, don't worry about it. COVID happened when they were operating in a loss way greater than what you're supposed to be.
I think the reason they turn it around eventually is because I think they're a good team. They've got good players like Calvert-Lewin. He just needs to step up again. Obviously, he keeps getting injured, but he'll turn it around eventually. I think the whole club as a whole. I think sacking Frank Lampard was the right decision. And if they've got Sean Dyche now, and I nearly put my 3 words as channel in a Burnley, because I think Everton should just be the next Burnley and play Brexit 4-4-2, like they did at the weekend, and they beat Arsenal.
Yeah, which could have been expected. New manager bounce, people. Sean Dyche had to run in more in training.
But yeah, I think they're better than the 3 teams I've said to go down, even if they don't look as good at the moment. But I think they'll turn it around.
So, team in 19th currently, Bournemouth. Have you got them going down?
Playing Championship football.
I've put nearly beat drop.
Oh, yeah, Bournemouth have shown glimpses of quality, but at the same time, they've shown glimpses of they're the worst team in the Premier League.
Yeah, I think Southampton are arguably worse, and I think Zabarny, the Ukrainian centre-back from Kiev, is pretty good. And I think Hamad Junior Traore from Sassuolo is a good bit of business. He was linked to Arsenal. So
I kind of think Bournemouth have shot themselves in the foot in January because they could have bought in Zaniolo, but they chose not to because the deal was there to be made. But Bournemouth said, we spent too much money.
Well, you've got to think that if they do get relegated, how are they going to afford to pay Zaniolo as well as everyone else that they've brought in? They've got Senesi in on a big contract
if they want to stay in the league, he was the player that they need.
Yeah, and now he's been shipped off to
he's
Turkey, I think.
People are calling him like the Italian Dele Alli. Like, I don't know he's still really young.
Yeah, well, he got injured, didn't he? He got injured quite
apparently
badly.
He has a little bit of an attitude problem.
Yeah.
But I think
he's a brilliant player, Zaniolo.
I think Bournemouth, if they bought him in, it would have been signing out the blue and it would have been mental. But they needed him to stay up and they didn't take it. And I feel like now they should have taken the risk of signing him because I think signing him could have taken them out of the relegation zone.
Yeah, because he's such a creative force. I have a bit of a bias for Zaniolo, because like during lockdown, me and my brother would play 1v1 tournaments in person where we'd pretend to be different nationalities and do like our own World Cups. And whenever I was Zaniolo, I'd open my right foot out and searching balls into the top corner. I couldn't do it with anyone else. I'd pretend to be Lionel Messi. I had an absolutely awful shot. Zaniolo, though, curled it straight in.
So, lastly, we have Southampton, who've been tinkering with relegation for a few years. But I've got playing Championship football.
Don't move position.
You think they're going to finish bottom of the league?
They're finishing dead last. Yeah.
Ooh.
They don't have a good manager. Who even is their manager? He's like the academy guy.
Oh, Nathan Jones.
Nathan Jones, yeah.
So everybody hates him and they all want him sacked.
He's
because,
so clueless.
I opened a tweet yesterday, a tweet about Southampton. Literally every single comment was Nathan Jones out, Nathan Jones out, Nathan Jones out. So clearly there's a message from the fans.
Yeah.
Where I think it was a terrible appointment because they bought him in. I think it was from Luton, if I'm not mistaken.
Is it?
I think it was.
Is it the same as Watford with the Forest Green manager?
They bought in a Championship manager who wasn't good enough for the Premier League. So I don't know how they imagined it would work. But yeah, their team's good, but they're not. Like James Ward-Prowse is gonna leave in the summer, whether they go down or not, because he's too good to play for Southampton.
Orsic looks like he could be a decent signing, but does he have enough time to adapt? He is
the most clutch player in the world.
Yeah, exactly.
So if anyone can get them out of it, it's him. But
so that's our predictions for the rest of the season for all 20 Premier League teams. Do we have time to move on?
Yeah, we can quickly glance over the news story for around the 92. So I'm going to go with my club, West Brom. So we have a little manager called Carlos Corberán who picked us up in 24th and has taken us to, well, we went as high as 4th as it stands during the weekend. But because of other games played, we dropped back down to 7th. But he's completely turned us around, like completely. We had Steve Bruce in before. And the reason I'm bringing this story up is because he's odds-on favourite to be the next Leeds manager, which I am absolutely gutted about.
Yeah, because he's done so well with West Brom.
Because it's such a West Brom thing to do, to bring in this new manager. He was a bit iffy at Huddersfield, but he's completely turned us around. He only joined 3 or 4 months ago, and it's such a West Brom thing to do, to just say, oh yeah, just take him and we'll just get someone else.
Yeah.
Because we have such unaspiring owners. We're just such an unaspiring club to a point where if he was to take us up, we'd come back down again because we have no backbone to go and sign anyone.
Your biggest signing was Yasuklu, weren't it?
But he's fantastic.
He's so good, is Yasuklu,
But even when we went up, we signed Diangana. Yeah, we wanted him. We signed Mateus Pereira, but then we let him go to Saudi Arabia for 10 million.
That is a dumb move. That is a really dumb move.
The best player I've seen in my lifetime play for West Brom. We signed Diagne on loan. Like, he was all right, but he scored, 4 goals.
Yeah.
Obviously, Yokushlu on loan was fantastic. But we just have no aspiration. And if we let Carlos Corberán go, I think, the fans are already against the owners as well. We have protests at the ground and everything turning against the owners.
Yeah.
But I think, it would blow everything up at the club. The fans would go...
Do you think you'd get relegated?
No, because I think we're too far up.
Yeah.
Obviously, the Championship's really close contested, but I think we're too far up now to get relegated, but we definitely won't get promoted.
Yeah, well, sticking with the Championship, and I mean, I've got to worry about this with everything up in the air at City. Everybody's predicting Vincent Kompany's going to be the next City manager. The reason he's at Burnley is so he can be in England and then move up to Man City. That could happen sooner rather than later, and I really hope it doesn't. 29 games this season, we're first by 7 points, we're 20 points above third. We've scored 58 goals and we've got a 73% win percentage at home. And the support for the club, I don't think, has been greater since I've been going to the ground and going to games. You'd argue that we suck as fans, but I thought our support is great.
So my experience from that
season.
Away day was you were dead quiet for 80 minutes until you scored the equaliser and then Twine scored the free kick at the end.
What a free kick.
The whole stadium just woke up from a sleep for 80 minutes.
Yeah, I mean, to be fair, it was one of them cold, wet nights.
Whereas we, as away fans, I felt we were great.
Yeah, you were quite loud, but you kind of just did every chant we did, but with West Brom instead of Burnley.
Well, that's most fans nowadays. They'll all just have the same songs.
And another thing I wanted to touch on just before we wrap up, Not exactly in the 92, but he's on loan from Arsenal. Florian Balogun has scored 14 goals and got 1 assist in 21 matches in Liga. That has come out of absolutely nowhere.
Okay, so mentioning that, another one that's just completely happened out of nowhere. I don't know if he's on loan at anyone. I think he's at Atlanta permanently. I think it's Atlanta. The top goal scorer in Serie A is Ademola Lookman.
Yeah, he just got an inform
He was at
recently
Everton
too.
and just didn't play. And obviously, if he was brought back to the Premier League, I think he'd be a great addition.
Yeah.
How is a winger?
Maybe even for Everton.
Yeah, how is this left winger who played for Everton, didn't play, now the top goal scorer in Italy?
Because he's moved to a right winger.
That makes all the difference.
Right.
So yeah, we're gonna wrap that up for today. Thanks for watching again. We've got some big things coming for season 2. We've got some good guests lined up, hopefully. So please subscribe and stay in tune. And until next time.
See ya.